not just on the pitch where things are going wrong, of course, Dino. It was revealed yesterday that Old Trafford has a mice problem. Oh, my God.
What, on the pitch? Or off the pitch?
Well, there's droppings being found, not in any of the sort of hospitality eating areas, but still. I mean, there was even a picture of a dead mouse in the stands at one point.
Oh, that's just someone putting the boot in. I mean, all clubs have got mice and rats everywhere.
Yes, I know.
As long as they're not in the kitchen.
Well, this is it. That is definitely... That has been said, that they're not in the kitchen. But still, it just adds to the turmoil that this club is going through. And yet we were supposed to be going through an exciting period with the Ineos takeover last year. Joining us for a little bit more on everything Manchester Football Club related, it is the Guardian's Jamie Jackson. Morning to you, Jamie. How you doing?
Morning, Jamie.
I'm very good, thank you. Good morning to everyone.
Morning to you. Look, Jamie, we're asking everybody this morning, first of all, best Christmas song.
Yeah, Fairy Tale in New York by the Pogues. Just looked it up actually. I was sort of 16 when this came out, so I was ripe for a bit of Christmas sort of festive atmosphere. But it is a beautiful song, and I like it. It's got an edge to it and all everything. So yeah, that one.
Yes, that's a good
choice.
Yeah, we like that one. And Christmas movie, is there one that you have to put on?
Yeah. Every year we watch it. I just watched it 2 nights ago with the family. It's a Wonderful Life. I don't know if you know it, but it's just a beautiful film because basically, in essence, it just says that everyone matters through their existence because of the effect of people's lives. And the main lead in it, James Stewart, doesn't think that, and he's shown the effect he has on other people's lives. It sounds a bit sentimental, but when you watch it, you're just drawn in. Every time I watch it, I'm drawn in by the last half hour where it all comes together. I don't know if you have seen it, but if not, really recommend it.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah,
Jamie,
good
football never ceases to amaze you. I never thought ever that Man City could lose 7 games. And what is happening at Man City, I can't actually put my finger on it. It's not all down to Rodri. I know that for a fact. Something's not right.
Yeah, I think it's also befuddling Pep Guardiola as the manager because, I'll be going to see him later on today for his sort of press conference ahead of Everton on Boxing Day, and I'm going to sit there and I will be asking him yet again, but in a slightly different way, what is going on, Mr. Guardiola? Because I don't think he particularly has much of a clue because it keeps on happening. I think it's 12 games now and 9 defeats. I mean, I just looked at the table that they're 7th. They're only about 5 points ahead of United, who are 13th. And it's not just that you can lose the odd game or a few games, but it's the number of games and how you expect it. The Derby defeat, for example, they're winning until the 85th minute, I think. And they just don't want it as much as Manchester United. Ahmed Diallo does want it more, and he makes it happen for them. And that's happening a lot. I was at the game, for example, when they lost to Amorim Sporting 4-1, I believe it was, in Lisbon. They got hammered there. I'm expecting it every time. And what I can say is it's like watching Manchester United now, watching Manchester City, in that you look at it and you think, where's the structure? Where's the sort of the wise heads, the sort of, we're talking about players here, as we all know, have won 6. A lot of them won 6 Premier Leagues in 7 years, the last 4, the Champions League, can go through it all. They know football. And I think Guardiola himself is puzzled that his own players, he's never said this because he's trying to protect them and all the rest of it, but he must be puzzled by these sort of top elite, veterans basically of winning games and controlling and managing games. Suddenly, it's like they know close to zero about football.
Well, Jamie, they talk about Rodri missing, which is he's obviously a loss. But then I thought, if you'd gone to sleep for 6 months and woke up and I said to you, right, Man City's midfield you've got a choice of De Bruyne, Gundogan, Foden, Grealish, Bernardo Silva, or Lewis. Take your pick out of them, 3 of them out of 6. You'd be delighted with that, wouldn't you? But now they're like top players, and it just seems to be they're getting overrun every week. And at the Aston Villa game, Aston Villa could have been 3-0 up in the first 10 minutes. They missed a few. It's just baffling.
Yeah, no, you're right there, because at one point he did have quite a lot of players out, and he would say now he's got that sort of centre back issues. But you're right in terms of the midfield, which is basically, we all know that's where football sort of won and lost, and it's Guardiola's big speciality. He obviously was a top number 6 himself. It's basically his position. But that's what his team is about, is midfield. And so for it to be overrun on such a serial basis, continually, basically every time they walk out, and they've only beaten Forest in this run we're talking about, this sort of run of 12 games. It's quite unbelievable. I mean, I've used the word surreal in one of my match reports to describe what we're talking about. Just the sort of the level of the depth of the fall. It is very difficult to get your head around. Now, if you ask me a slightly different question, I don't think. I think he is unsackable this season, right? I don't think Amorim, who's the chairman, who basically, carries out all the sort of executive decisions. They're not going to sack him. The only thing I wonder is, if it continues, he's a human being. Might he, Guardiola, despite him wanting to arrest it and try to turn it around, might he get to a point? I'm not saying McClose necessarily, where he just thinks, you know what, I've run out of messages here. I just don't know how. I just don't know how to turn this around, because he's never had to face it, right? He has, as a player, because we discussed this with him, had difficult runs. When he was a player, he was obviously a great player, he was a proper player. But it's just, for him, it's a bit of a mystery. So all the time, he's just trying to find something that he's never discovered before, which is the answer to this problem. And of course, we all know the more you lose, the more this slide continues. It feeds into a spiral that makes the momentum even more difficult to arrest.
Jamie, I know you've been covering the Manchester area for a very long time, of course, even going back to Sir Alex Ferguson's days at Old Trafford. I sort of think to myself, with you've gone through that sort of great times of Sir Alex Ferguson, then moving into the sort of change of Manchester City, the great times that they've experienced. This period right now for you must be the most interesting, in the sense of that both teams are going through an element of turmoil, if you like, with what's going on with City, and then obviously with United off the pitch, the disrepair of Old Trafford, Ruben Amorim coming in, and they seem to take one step forward, the one step back as well. Baffling times all round.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I mean, it's a year to the day since Sir Jim Ratcliffe, his interest became firm, official, with regard to buying into the club. And, I was sitting there in the press room after the Bournemouth defeat, and there's a leaky roof of media room, so it's not just the stadium roof, which is obviously external. I'm talking about, a colleague of mine on the front row had to move because it sort of dripped on him. And Amorim's sitting there. And you can imagine he's just, his team's just been absolutely tanked 3-0 by Bournemouth. I mean, they were absolutely awful, I have to say. And that happens. It's just, you talk about the mice before, Natalie. It's just another emblem of sort of what's going on there at the moment. And, the Ashworth thing, I still find that very surreal. They waited, all that time for Dan Ashworth for his gardening leave at Newcastle. He's in the place 5 months, and there's a parting of the ways, basically, because him and Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who by the way, is running that club kind of on a day-to-day hands-on basis. He's at Carrington, or he's at the club a lot more than was expected. Because there was a sort of personality clash there, however you want to characterise it. Off goes Dan Ashworth. I mean, that's high farce, right? He was quoted in February, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, as saying he's one of the top sort of sporting football directors in the world. He's in the place 5 months, and off he goes. Where was the sort of due diligence about how this relationship might work beforehand? And then you get to the pitch, and I just look at them and I think, a match report said that they couldn't defend, they couldn't retain the ball, and they couldn't attack, right? So if you can't do those 3 things in football, I mean, what can you do? And it's, he's been in 9 games now, Amorim. I don't think it's his fault and all the rest of it. He needs time. But you know what it's like. We're discussing it now. It's Manchester United. They're 13th. I can't get my head around that. They're 13th. They're going to be bottom, as you say, on Christmas Day. And you look at it, you think, it's making Ten Hag winning 2 trophies. I know they finished 8th last season, but I think they would bite your hand off for 8th or 7th at the moment, because Wolves away, Boxing Day, they don't do very well there generally in recent years. I don't know. I can see maybe another hounding of them, another sort of 2-0, 3-0 defeat. And at the moment, it's only going one way. And this system he has said he hasn't got he hasn't said it this way, but he needs time because it's a 3-4-3 and all the rest of it. The storm will come. It was one of his phrases. Well, I think the storm is here now. And also the selection at Tottenham when they went out of the Carabao Cup, I didn't understand that. They just won the derby 2-1. And instead of just putting out the strongest team he can, he felt like he had to rotate. He had some A-listers in there, and they got out the Carabao Cup. And so that sort of stopped the momentum of a very good derby win. So I think he's learning. I think he understands now the size and the demands of Manchester United. But I don't know, it is pretty bleak. And then, yes, City, as I sort of discussing generally in Manchester, it is odd to see them so sort of low. I think maybe, he would never say this, but maybe the view will be this season, within reason, is a write-off for City with regard to the title defence. They'll go again this summer. Because remember, they only brought in Savinho last summer. It wasn't great.
When you start supporting Stockport, Jamie?
I'm a Forest fan. I'm not even Forest.
Oh, you see, all right. Anyway, he's fine.
They're doing great, by the way.
Jamie, always appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jamie.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.